This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What's up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and joining me is the man that is, continuously looking at his phone, wondering to see if the Indiana Pacers have come to an agreement with LeBron James. It is Michael J. Facci. Facci, how's it going?
You guys have walked into a LeBron to Indiana Pacers pause. Saw some of you guys requesting it, but no, we're not going to waste our breath on that. I do not think.
Let's just throw this out.
Sure.
What is that reporting? I mean, seriously, like the reporting is that he's going to meet with any team that has interest in him, and he wants to win a championship.
Totally.
Like, what is this? Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
LeBron is not going to meet with like 29 other teams. I know they said that it's reportedly there's 12 teams that have significant interest. Okay. It sounds like the second Draymond Green opted out of his player option for significant money, that something was brewing. And Draymond is such a huge LeBron fan. Truly, it's probably a dream of his at this point to like play with him. That once that move happened, you knew there was going to be a domino effect. And sure, they might not be able to collect them all and maybe trade for Anthony Davis, but it definitely sounds like LeBron made up his mind before. I think it would have made more sense to go to Cleveland. They have a better team in place and good chance to win, retire retire in your hometown. But at the same point, keep him in the West. Get him out of here. I don't need to face him again in the playoffs. It's never worked out in our favor. So do whatever you want. Just stay out West.
Yeah, honestly, I just don't want him to go to the Heat. Like, that's the team I do not want to see him on, just because, like, the Heat fans are already, like, annoying as it is, and they think that they're the God's greatest gift to earth when it comes to being a sports fan, because they're like, oh, we got Giannis, oh, we got LeBron, we had Wade and Bosh, we had the big three. It's like, you know how many big names they struck out on for almost a decade? They've been irrelevant since LeBron left, basically. So
Totally.
Like, that's unfair. They were pretty good with Jimmy Butler.
They made 2 NBA finals.
That's really stupid of me to say that, but still.
It's a little bit harsh, but yeah, they didn't win them. And,
nobody really expected them to win the NBA finals when they made it. I think
definitely not.
Like, they took advantage of the bubble, and they took advantage of a Boston Celtics team that just wasn't ready, and I think they might have had some injuries. I don't know, but they were up like 3-0, almost blew it in Game 7. So, like, anyway, that is a little bit harsh. I'm just saying they're just not as relevant as they want you to believe they are, and I just don't want to see LeBron go back there. I think LeBron going to the Warriors is like one of the most weird dynamics I've seen in a very long time, just because of the back and forth between him and Steph for so long in the NBA Finals. To see them play together, it kind of feels like that shouldn't happen. It'd be
that's a classic LeBron thing right there. Some players
like
Reggie
Reggie Miller
I'll
and Patrick
never
Ewing
play with that guy. Some people say I'll never play with that guy because that's my competition. That's not the situation with LeBron. We've seen him play with his competition many different times, and Dwayne Wade and Bosh and other things like that. So yeah, he's never one to kind of say like I want to do it on my own. He wants to team up, but like I use this analogy with my friends, and I don't think it's like, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thinking it, but to me, if he does sign with the Warriors, I feel like that's equivalent to like the Houston Rockets when it was like Barkley, Olajuwon, and Scottie Pippen. Like very good players, Hall of Famers, but past their prime to the point where it's like you're trying to like hold on and definitely like, still be in the mix, but you're not the favorite by any means. And if you put LeBron on the Warriors, he's got Steph Curry and Draymond and Jimmy Butler, if they're able to make that happen, good team. But like, I definitely am not picking them to come out of the West at all.
No, they're too old.
They are just flat out.
Yeah, they're too old. They cannot compete with the Western Conference. And like, I don't wonder if LeBron knows that. Like, LeBron's a very smart dude, and if he really wants to win a championship, his best bet is going to the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
What team in the East to go to? It seems like Miami would be the front runner to get him. You mentioned Cleveland, but I don't really think Cleveland has a championship level team. Maybe with LeBron on it,
well, you put LeBron on it, you could be in that running.
Look, can you really trust James Harden and Donovan Mitchell?
Could you sharpen the knife and maybe stab James Harden in the back and leave him out there like Philly was doing? But I feel like in that situation, Harden opted out, so like technically he is off the books right now. If you did sign LeBron and you did make some other moves, you could still have like a good team. You got Evan Mobley, you got Jared Allen, you got Donovan Mitchell, you got LeBron. All of a sudden, maybe you add someone else. All depends on what LeBron's willing to sign for. That's really the key thing. How bad does this guy want to add one or more rings to his legacy? That's the thing. Because if he's looking at, I still need $50 million, then you're probably not going to win.
Okay, so he said money is not an issue.
It shouldn't be.
That's what LeBron said. He's made so much money in his life. He's got he's got so much money just in investments and businesses like that. Facci, we'll just do it for the sake of the argument here or I guess just for the podcast. Why not Indiana? I mean, if you're looking at how the Pacers roster is currently constructed, he would fit in pretty well here. Now, I do think he is more of a 4 than he is a 3 at this point, but who cares? Like, he could play the 3. You put Nesmith on the bench, bring Nesmith off the bench. I guarantee, like, I even talked about it at one point, like, in a perfect world, if LeBron played for every single team for his retirement tour, what would that look like? Like, I said Nesmith would start only because in that situation, but if he were to come here for the full 82 games, like, of course, he's way too big of a player to not start. You bring Nesmith off the bench. Now your bench is just incredibly that much stronger, and you get another ball handler out there, someone that can play the 4, small ball 5. Like, LeBron is going to take time off, but I just think, a lot of Pacer fans would like it. I mean, the response that I've seen on Twitter, it feels like a lot of Pacer fans would love this idea. But then there's the old school ones that remember those rivalries against LeBron, and they absolutely hate and despise the idea of him in a Pacers uniform. Where are you at?
I mean, I have emotionally been hurt by LeBron many times. And those were in like pivotal years where I was like in college and like right in that, I would say, I don't know, anywhere between 18 to 21 years old, just having my heart ripped out and then doing it again later on when he went to Cleveland. So like those were times that hurt. So I'm definitely someone that doesn't root for LeBron. I have the respect at this point, but I do not root for him. But of course, if he was to sign with the Pacers are a way better team. He would be such a huge piece. You put him at the 3 and Nesmith off the bench. Now you're talking about a starting lineup. Halliburton, who instantly has got to be maybe the best point guard LeBron's ever played with, right? When you're talking about like Mario Chalmers and Rajon Rondo and like, I don't know, all the other guys that he's had over the years, like talking about Halliburton here.
Is Luka Doncic a point guard?
Well, it's like he should be, but he's not technically. But at the same point, he might as well could be.
I mean, Kyrie Irving's got to be up there.
Yes, Kyrie Irving's definitely there. I mean, LeBron's played with everybody, so like, Kyrie really, really good. But in terms of passers, I mean, that's the type of category that like Halliburton's in. Of like Halliburton, Kyrie, few others, select few. But anyway, Halliburton, Nembhard, LeBron, Siakam, Zubats, that is a starting 5 right there. That would strike fear into a lot of teams. And you're going to get the whistle if you get LeBron. That comes with it. So that's why you pay so much money, because you get the whistle and the free throw differential that comes with them. That's why the Lakers have had hundreds of more free throws than like any other team over the last few years. But it's just one of those things that like, unless you're probably below a certain age, like you can't even sell yourself on the belief that it's even a possibility. I had a Wizards fan today try and tell me that's more realistic that he would sign with the Wizards than the Pacers. And I was like, I am not having this conversation.
Was it
like
Scoop
you are
B?
delusional? No, LeBron. I was like, LeBron would like, he looks down on a team like the Wizards to even say that it was like, if Anthony Davis is refusing to even acknowledge that he's a Wizard, LeBron James would refuse to even acknowledge their existence. So, that's not happening. It would be a super, super short list that I think would consist of like Golden State, Cleveland, and like, maybe another team. Maybe it's
Miami.
like familiar with like Miami.
Yeah, I mean, those feel like the front runners for sure, and that's what's been reported out there, so makes sense. I mean, if he really wants to win, I think going to a team like San Antonio makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know Bill Simmons brought that up on his podcast, and I was just like, I mean, just imagine him and that starting 5 unit with the Spurs instead of what they were closing with against the Knicks. They probably win the NBA championship. If he went to the Pacers, like I think honestly, like if you look at the Eastern Conference, like what is his best team to go to in the East? Because like, sure, Miami is an interesting name because he played there, but like Giannis, Bam, and LeBron, it doesn't seem like the perfect fit. It seems like they're still lacking that true point guard. They just got Andrew Wiggins back, so it's like super massive, big team, but like, can they get enough guard play out of that group? I don't know. I don't think there's enough floor spacing either there around LeBron, with Giannis being a guy that wants to have the ball in his hands all the time. So unless you're using LeBron James as a floor spacer, that just seems like a not great resource for, way to use that resource. So I'm just trying to think, like, okay, you could maybe say Boston, but, like, are they gonna bring Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum back? I mean, there's so much drama there.
Yeah, I know.
think you can arguably say that if you were going to the Eastern Conference, the Indiana Pacers, as currently constructed,
Makes
with LeBron James, makes the most sense for him in the East. Now, in the Western Conference, there are other teams that make more sense for him and his storyline and what he's gone through. And I think he probably wants to stay in California. And so Golden State seems like the natural fit. Like, that's why, like, everyone's like, he's going to go to Golden State. But, like, I don't know. He likes to make everything about himself. And so this is why all this stuff is coming out the day of free agency. LeBron James is open to join any team, and he'll take an offer, but then, take a conversation with any
headlines.
Team. It's just he's trying to stay relevant as he's slowly getting, to the point where he's going to retire. I mean, look at the video that he posted. I mean, that beard was white.
I know.
It's like it doesn't even feel real. Like, honestly, what is happening this summer does not feel real. Like Kawhi Leonard getting traded back to the Raptors.
Wild right now. I think it's a good segue to kind of shift it to the next. Like, Kawhi Leonard back in Toronto. Like, who would have ever thought that? Ever? I feel like that would have been one of those where it's like, nah, clearly he didn't enjoy being in Toronto. Like, but I think, like, as a Raptors fan, that's probably got to be awesome.
Because is he running from the FBI?
I don't know. Who knows? Hey, he's fled the country. He's out there. That Clippers case still going on, but
he's only playing home games.
If you're a Raptors fan, you got to always hold that, like, warm spot for Kawhi and delivering a championship, and to see that come back, like, that's got to kind of be the closest I could probably say is, like, if Paul George had ever come back to Indiana. I know he didn't deliver a championship, but, like, Pacer fans went through the, like, being bitter of how, like, he left and, oh my God, like, how could you do this to us, to them, like, wanting him back. I think now, like, things are a little bit different, but, like, Kawhi is still, like, really good. He's a really good player, and the Raptors have some good pieces. So now, all of a sudden, you gotta respect the Raptors in the East. I know they gave up, Brandon Ingram, some picks, and Grady Dick's, whatever. I feel like he never lived up to, what he could have been, or maybe could have been picked a little bit too high. But, like, they really wanted to keep RJ Barrett. They did that. You got Kawhi. I mean, Jakob is not a good contract at all. You got Scotty Barnes. Like, they got a good team that I feel like they should very well be in the midst of things, I would say.
Yeah, I still think they're a little weak at the point guard spot, but Scotty Barnes does like to run point. Emmanuel Quickly's making a ton of money.
Way too much money. He would have been a better piece to, like, find a way to, like, ship him out for someone else like that. But, like, he's never, ever since that ink dried on the contract, he was never worth $30 million a year.
Yeah, I don't really know what team to trade for him either, because, like, I was looking at some of these contracts the other day, and I'm like, $33 million is a ton of money for a point guard. That's not very good. Like,
a lot.
It's like Tyler Hero's an expiring $33 million, but, like, the Bucks already have, like, 7 guards.
Quickly making double the amount of money as Nembhard.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
How crazy is that? And that contract was signed years ago. Like,
stupid teams do stupid things. And
yes, wild.
I mean, they traded OG Anunoby for him and RJ Barrett.
Signed him.
Yeah, yep. I mean, it's interesting because I'm sure, like, Pascal's got to be feeling, like, a weird way, like, seeing Kawhi back in Toronto, like, after he was kind of his mentor. Like, it's kind of like a cool moment, but it's also just weird.
It is.
I don't know how it really impacts the Eastern Conference from a Pacers standpoint that much, because it's like I want to see how the rest of the roster kind of shapes out before I say anything. But I do think that it makes them significantly better, and I look at them as a much bigger threat than I thought of them before, because Brandon Ingram to me was not like a playoff riser. He's like a regular season kind of guy.
Exactly.
And like you said, Grady Dick had fallen out of the playoff rotation, was wanting to get traded. So now it's like you got so many guards in the Clipper land right now. It's like, what's going to happen with Benedict Mathurin?
It's interesting what they're doing. It's interesting.
Their team looks awful. I
know, but, like, you could see, like, they're taking the step back to hopefully take that step forward. Now, all of a sudden, like,
with who?
You got some, you got the most favorable Raptors, first round picks for the future that you could get. Okay. You own the Pacers 2029 first.
Yeah.
Keaton Wagler, you just added him. I don't know what their deal is with Mathurin. It seems like he's just going to get a qualifying offer and just test restricted free agency. Like, you can't feel great about that if you're Mathurin. That changes everything. Who's going to go hard at him right now? I really don't know.
The Bulls, maybe. I think the Bulls would make sense. They had interest in him at the trade deadline for Ayo Dosunmu. Like, I think I saw somewhere like $30-some million in cap space. I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah. This is a good segue here. They just waived Kam Jones. Obviously, the Pacers traded away Kam Jones for, Braden Smith, and they gave up 2 second-round pick swaps and cash consideration for it. I think they gave cash, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they didn't, but
they did.
Okay.
But hit me with your initial reaction to seeing they were waiving Kam Jones.
Not surprised. Kam Jones was not good last year. Kam Jones shot under 30% from 3, only goes left, and he's an in-between guard. Like, he's not a point guard, and they already have so many guards on the roster anyway. So it's like, they don't really need Kam Jones. Like, I thought it might be a kind of a cool story because Marquette's not too far from Chicago. Yeah. But the more I was like reading into it, I'm like, look, they basically made the deal, and they ate $1 million for the Pacers for 2 pick swaps, basically. That's kind of how I look at it. Now, the Pacers probably, with the cash they gave them, it was probably like $4 to $5 million to get up into that spot because they gave like $6 million to swap spots with the Spurs.
I know.
They moved up from like 36 to 35 to get Johnny Furphy. So I just think overall, like, it was one of those things where, like, the owner, he pockets that money. He's like, yes. All right, we're going to be
been cheap though. They
always sell their picks. It's kind of funny to me. Like, they sold the 58th pick or something like that to somebody, and like, I saw people like, oh, I'm sick and tired of the Bulls selling their picks. I'm like, it's the 58th pick. If they want to sell 58, that makes sense. Now 38, I get why you'd be upset, but they really don't need it. I mean, with how their roster is currently constructed. So
no, they
overall,
don't. I just felt bad for Kam Jones because I felt like it's like, this is a Bulls team that's not good. Like, maybe you'd have a big
bad team doesn't want him, Facci.
I know that says a lot. I don't know, like, I haven't looked it up, but like a top 40 pick being cut after 1 year.
Yeah.
Ugh. And like, I also feel like it's like, even his representation, that's got to be rough because he signed an unusual contract, like, in terms of his guarantees for the 38th pick. Like, there's players picked after him that got, more money guaranteed for sure. So for him to sign that contract, get less guaranteed money than people picked after him, and then getting waived after a year is like, this is not good. And I think he'll land somewhere. Like, he will. He's too young, and there'll be a team that picks him up. But like, now you start to become like, are you going to be on like a 2-way contract? Like, how's this really going to work?
That's probably the next route. And Tony East reported this, or didn't report this, but he shared this information, which I thought was great. He cannot join the Pacers on a 2-way contract for over a year. So he can join any of the other 29 teams, even the Chicago Bulls, but he cannot join the Indiana Pacers because he was traded from the Pacers, and you cannot join the team that traded you away if you are waived by that team. So, or waived after being traded. So I just think it's interesting. Now, just to go back quickly to the Clippers, because we were talking about them, I just saw this tweet. It said the Clippers have traded Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Ivica Zubac, and Kobe Brown, and received Darius Garland, Benedict Mathurin, Keaton Wagler, Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, Isaiah Jackson, 6 first-round picks, and 4 second-round picks. They now own 9 first-round picks until 2033.
I like it. I do.
It's a good way to kind of reshape your roster.
They had to, though. They traded a boatload of picks and a future MVP for Paul George. Like, it backfired. It blew up in their face. And they needed to do something because they didn't have any youth movement coming in at all for a couple of years. And they were as old as dust last year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Brook Lopez, Kawhi, like, Bradley Beal, like, all those guys, like, they're just like, Nicholas Batum, like, they were getting really old. And I felt like they took that step back. They now have a team that I feel like they could, like, keep together or build around. They got assets to be able to make a trade, when the time comes. And, I think that, are they going to be good next year? No, but like, they have like enough young players to be able to say like, okay, maybe these guys could get better, year after year, and you could add to it eventually. So I like what the Clippers are doing. I think they realized like where they were at was just like they hit the wall. They had their chance like every time they've had their chance, someone's hurt. Kawhi, anytime they had like a promising team or a playoff run, Kawhi was injured. And I think they knew Kawhi better than almost any other team out there. This guy's not going to play a full season. And even if he does, he could break down in the playoffs, which he has done numerous times.
Yeah, I mean, when Kawhi is healthy, like even last year at times, he looks like a top 5 player in the league. But the problem is, like you said, the health. And I think that's why, like, if you're like Toronto, like, yeah, you gave up picks, but Grady Dick wasn't a part of your future. Brandon Ingram was not a part of your future.
No.
So you use that salary to go out there and get someone that said he wants to retire in Toronto. And I was laughing because Duncan Smith, who covers the Pistons, said Kawhi Leonard announces his retirement tomorrow.
Yes, yeah,
because he gets traded to Toronto and retires. But no, I think there's interesting moves. And then like the other move that was like really kind of surprising. I don't know what you thought about this, but the Ja Morant trade to the Portland Trail Blazers, and they completely said they're out on the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes, and also said that Ja Morant is their big move. I'm thinking to myself, this is a guy that basically like almost needed assets attached to him to get him moved. They end up getting Chris Murray and Jeremy Grant for him. And I thought to myself, like, that's actually not a terrible return for Memphis considering what was out there on the market for him. His value was so depressed. And I think that at this point, like, why is Portland getting another point guard when they already just signed Dame Lillard last year? They have Drew Holiday on the books. Scoot Henderson's out there. Like, what's the big picture here?
Ja Morant had like actual negative trade value, like negative. And I think it was like I can't say like the best kept secret, like the most known thing out there that Memphis was like begging for someone to come after Ja Morant. Like truly, I think they probably fought hard not to include a first-round pick, but this is a team that got 4 first-round picks and a swap for Desmond Bane, and they couldn't get a pick for Ja Morant. So this is a guy who's got a lot of skill, a lot of talent, but like truly has damaged his image. And I think you could probably say that he probably needed to change the scenery more than anybody in the entire NBA. Yeah. I think he did. But for Portland, which you mentioned before, way too many guards. And it felt like the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes had their name written all over it. Being able to trade like a Drew Holiday and other players, I felt like that would have been the move, but I feel like they have to move on. I know. Like, they have to move on from someone. I think Scoot, they've probably seen enough out of that. Like, are you really going to pay him? Like, I think that Scoot Henderson should be the odd man out, but Drew Holiday is also someone who, like, while still very good, is getting older, and like this could be a good time to be able to trade him. We've seen that he's had value every single time he's been traded in the league. So way too many guards. This is their time to make another move. And then Robert Williams, a guy that we discussed, still getting about $15 million. Like, only from the Trailblazers who know him well, but I thought that was an overpay. I thought that was an overpay because he's someone we brought up, but definitely not at the mid-level.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see him go back to Portland for that because he's not going to start. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you thought there probably would be another opportunity for him to start. I mean, I feel like the Lakers were like the number one team I kind of expected him to go to. And then you see Sandro is going to sign there, but they also have DeAndre Ayton who opted into his contract. So there is that hurdle. We have to try to find a trade for Ayton if you do bring in Robert Williams the third. But I was a little bit surprised. Like, yeah, he got the money, and probably not a lot of other teams wanted to offer him that full $15 million is why he went there. Kind of interesting to kind of see the center market out there, like, be what it is, because we haven't even touched on anything Pacers related yet. I know we talked off air about the Yusuf Nurkic thing, but like just a couple of things Pacers related. I didn't want to get too far into it because something could happen by the time this is released. So I wanted to talk about the news that was made, but like,
sure.
Reports about Thomas Bryant today were just absolutely shocking to me because, it's like Thomas Bryant verbally agrees to a deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers to return, and the Indiana Pacers had interest in bringing him back. And I mean, how many times did I say last offseason, like, not bringing back Thomas Bryant was a terrible decision by the Pacers? Like, they were like, let's bring in 2 guys with bad, coming back from an Achilles injury, and Tony Bradley, who was signed in March, and we're going to trade for this Jay Huff guy that, okay, cool backwards dunks and looks really good on highlights, but he played like hardly any minutes in real basketball last year, versus a guy that just won you game, or not won you, but was a big part of the reason you won Game 6 against the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, he had a bad playoff run in the NBA Finals, but like, this is a guy that clearly fit your team from a lot of different standpoints, from the emotional side of things, from the on-court fit with the ability to, be a rim protector at times. Like, he just is an emotional player that like lived up to the expectations when they traded for him, and that's when their season turned around, is when they got him, and then they're just like, nah, we're good. And it's just kind of like, oh, we were going to wear egg on our face and try to right that wrong. And then they just end up losing out to go back to the Cavs. And like, he hardly played for the Cavs.
I know. I mean, it's classic Pacers. I think they just kind of, I don't know if it's cheaping out or whatever it was, but I think at the time, we got Tony Bradley on this non-guaranteed contract. Oh, keep that. We already have a couple other centers. But yeah, Thomas Bryant definitely could have been someone that could have gotten some minutes or just been a part of this team in some sort of way. The thing that just drives me nuts is like, this is 2 years in a row where like on opening night of free agency, the Pacers are just nowhere to be found. And we know how quick things go in the NBA. A lot of these deals are already like negotiated in advance and they sign pretty quickly. Free agency has been around for a couple hours now while we're recording this. The Pacers have been linked to 3 total players.
Yeah.
Kelly Oubre Jr., Gary Trent Jr., and Josh Okogie. Like that's it. But I also heard for Kelly Oubre, he's been linked to, he's going to meet with the Sixers. He's going to meet with, I believe they said the Trailblazers and the Lakers.
Yeah.
So they got some competition.
They said other teams as well would be meeting with Kelly Oubre. Like we definitely talked about
that's not good.
Like when you look at the small forwards in the NBA, like the wing players, like he was like number 1 on our list. Like, I think we had Chris Middleton at number 1 at one point, and then I was like, I think I should change that because, like, I just think he's that much better. He's younger, he's healthier, like he's got more defensive upside, and like he was somebody I brought up as a wild card on our preview episode, just yesterday. So it was one of those things where it's like Kelly Oubre made a lot of sense for the Pacers. My biggest fear, and I even told my friends this today in a group text message. I love the fit. I just know that the Pacers probably won't offer him a starting spot. And that's one thing he's going to have to be like okay with if he does come to Indiana is be like, okay, I'm going to be coming off the bench here. I'm going to be like the 6th, 7th man, maybe 8th man at some points, but probably more in the 6, 7 man range. I think that they need more wing depth, and he would be an upgrade over what Mathurin brought in terms of a defensive standpoint. Offensively, won't be able to give you the same punch, but can still put the ball in the basket. I mean, he had 14 points a game last year. Like that's not bad for a starter.
No, solid.
Kind of like the 5th starter for that
exactly
Sixers team. But I just overall think like for Oubre Jr. just by him alone, because we've seen it like 3 or 4 different places. Like Kelly Eco reported that. We had Mark Stein and Jake Fisher last night, and then Grant Afseth, a friend of ours, shared that as well earlier this afternoon. So there's been multiple reports talking about the interest from the Pacers in Oubre Jr. My biggest fear is that another team could offer him a starting spot, and that's ultimately what he'll take versus the chance to win a championship and play as a second unit guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the money's the same, that'll be the deal breaker. I think for like a team like Philly, obviously they know him well, and I haven't really heard them linked to anyone else, so they definitely could just bring him back. It all depends on what the Pacers are really willing to offer. Are they willing to make him, the big acquisition of free agency for the Pacers? Because looking at the books, things like that, it looks like the Pacers will have, maybe one good swing at it, and then they're just maybe looking for like a backup center. So
him and Drummond, they're teammates.
I mean, hey, I've always had that soft spot for Drummond. But I just think at this point, even it looked like the salary cap even came in a little bit shorter than
not a ton, but like
not a ton, but enough to make its ways through Twitter and have everyone freaking out a little bit and have the Pacers even closer to the tax than what they thought they were. Now it's like below $2 million, where I think people thought maybe they'd be about $2.4 million off, or something like that. So
$200 million, I think.
No, I'm saying $2.4 million initially thought away from being a tax.
Oh, I see. I thought you were saying like total number, for the first paper, and I was like, $2 million's not that much. I think you mean $200 million. Sorry.
Yeah. All good. All good.
I'm hearing you wrong.
Yes. No worries. But I just think that, it's kind of like a little bit of, a little bummed out waiting for the team to make a move. But in my guess, I just don't think they're going to make a move on day one. I think that if Kelly Oubre is going to meet with quite a few teams, I don't know if the Pacers, I don't know where they rank in terms of the first stop, second stop, third stop, fourth stop, anything like that. But I do hope that the Pacers don't do what they did last year, where we're recording each night being like, when are they going to sign Miles Turner? Another night went by. Yeah, something's going on right now. This probably isn't good. Next thing you know, the Pacers are panicking and they got nobody. So things move pretty fast in free agency. And if the Pacers don't want to trade any of their core 7 or really anything meaningful, this is really our only way to get better right now.
No, it really is. And it's like, we've talked about like this type of player is what they need to address the most. Like all the names we brought up, especially like via trade or whatever, it was like somebody that can really just give you a little bit of two-way capabilities, but more so like you're looking at Oubre Jr. to me more as a defensive-minded player.
Yeah.
That can pitch in offensively at times. Like he's I would label him as a 3-and-D, but like, there's probably better options out there, but not for free agents. That's where it gets difficult. Like free agency, it's supposed to start at 6 p.m. on, June 30th. And the first news we got was an Ousmane Dieng re-signing with the Bucks. And then all of a sudden, it was a few minutes later, it's DeAndre Jordan going back for his 19th season with the Pelicans.
I mean, how? And I gotta say, Pacer faithful, Chuck, Jamie, whichever one it was, I saw you say, like, I would have been interested in this. It's like, no, look, no, that ain't it. I saw that tweet. I did see it.
That's might be the only player I'd rather see Micah Potter over than on the floor.
Just for DeAndre Jordan, I got respect for Jordan sticking around in the league. Sounds like he was an awesome teammate, and I'm sure that's what you guys were thinking of, like,
the James Johnson replacement.
Exactly, the James Johnson role where it's like, hey, he never needs to see the court, just be there in that. But like, this Pacers team isn't as young as they were a couple years ago, where you did need that. I think now, like, they actually need each roster spot to be able to contribute, and you're already down a guy with Johnny Furphy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you look at their depth, like we talked about this, like they're 13 players, and their third string depth is Quentin Jackson, Johnny Furphy, and then one of Huff or Potter. Probably Potter, because they just brought Potter back, right? Like, picked up his team option. I don't think anything was like groundbreaking or earth-shattering there. It was basically, hey, we're going to exercise our team option on you and keep you on here because you're actually not a guaranteed contract until January 10th. And this does not hurt. Like, it didn't hurt them at all to keep him. It really was like as simple as, hey, we're giving a qualifying offer to Jalen Slauson to be, a restricted two-way guy, because the two-way players count nothing against your salary cap. So it's really just kind of a formality with both of the pickups. It was probably the easiest summer the Pacers have had. And then Kobe Brown, there's been no talks about what's going to happen with him.
There hasn't.
So I would expect him to be a late free agent pickup for a team that might want to give him a flyer. Like, that's kind of how I envision that. But, for the Pacers, like, I guess we can kind of transition out of like Gary Trent Jr. or Josh Okogie. What are your thoughts on either of those? Obviously, I think we're both much higher on Gary Trent Jr. as a fit here than Okogie. But Okogie is a very good defender.
Okogie is a solid defender, definitely a solid defender. And I think that people would appreciate his game in Indiana. He's not like someone that you're ever going to catch on like a highlight reel or something like that. But like, I'm a Gary Trent Jr. guy. I am.
We know.
I am. I've wanted him. I've been bringing him up. And like, that would give me some pep in the step. And I know there's going to be someone commenting on YouTube saying, Gary Trent Jr., that's enough to give you pep in the step. Yes, it is. Because we need more three-point shooting. We've seen what he can do. He could get hot at times. He's never going to break the bank. It's going to be arguably the most bang for the buck that the Pacers could probably get. And that's not even a play on words, given that he played for the Bucks. But I just feel like this would be, if you're telling me Gary Trent Jr. is going to sign with the Pacers for $5 million, yes, I am in. Sign me up right now. I would love that signing.
What do you think about Tim Hardaway Jr. going to the Miami Heat for about $6.5 million?
I think it's good value. I think like Pacer Nation rides hard for Tyrese to the point where, and I respect that, where they're like, oh, he'll never be a Pacer. No, I want him nowhere near here just because, Halliburton and Tim Hardaway Sr. had some beef. But $6.5 million for a really good three-point shooter and, solid defender, it's good value. So I think that's like a good cost-effective piece that Miami was able to add. There's Duncan Robinson could get cut, but he's such a terrible defender that it's like, but obviously a good three-point shooter. But I feel like there's other players that could be a better defender and a good shooter as well. So Duncan Robinson is someone that I probably anticipate hitting the market soon as a three-point shooter.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going to go. I mean, there's been reports that he could go back to Miami, which would make a lot of sense.
He probably could. I mean,
honestly, like any three-point shooter is linked to Miami, but it does make sense because he is part of like, I think there was actually like potential trade talks with like him for Nikola Jovic because their contracts are pretty similar, and
Jovic contract's pretty bad.
It ended up being worse than people thought it was going to be when they signed
him. I don't know where what he did to be able to make like, I think it's like $16 million a year or something.
Yeah, over the next 4 years.
And that's kind of rough. Now you look at a Miami team that just brought in Giannis. Now they're starting to kind of like pinch pennies a bit. A Jovic contract is very unfortunate. Even Andrew Wiggins like redid his deal and saved them like a little bit, but
that was a really good move for him.
Yeah. But like, did you see how they structured it?
Is it like
it's usually like a deal, like it's very like instead of like going up in value, it descends, which will help him long term. Yeah, it's front loaded. He's gonna make like $30 million this year, and then it'll go down significantly. But if they did it the other way around, Wiggins could have been like a solidly overpaid player a couple of years from now. Would have helped them out this year, but maybe the contract becomes more appealing to be traded after this season.
I kind of wonder if it becomes appealing to be traded at the trade deadline with it being that high.
It very well could at that point because he goes from like 30 million to like, I want to say maybe like 19 to maybe like 11 or 12. It's something where it goes down like a solid amount.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I was laughing because I was like, my editor for on SI stuff, he's Miami Heat, he covers Miami Heat, and so he was doing a podcast and saying like, there's no way Wiggins is going to get, an average annual value of like $25 million a year, which ended up being close to 22, 23, something like that. So he was like, yeah, he's probably going to do around 30. Like, I don't see him doing that. And his coach was like, I don't know. I think you could restructure for like 3 for 65. And I was like, wow, what a great call. Like, that's just like incredible. Like, just to kind of like know the value. Cause like knowing values of players is really hard. Like, definitely we were both probably a little bit lower on just the overall value of some of these players. Like Ayo Dosunmu and like a Kobe White and all these players getting like the money they got was like a little bit surprising, but that's why you're seeing a lot of these players go back to teams that are originally the ones that had them because they can offer more money. And that's why you're not seeing like these drastic changes. But we are seeing a lot of trades. The trades have been like crazy. I remember when Buchanan said that a couple of years ago when this new CBA was put in, he said, I think you're just going to see a lot more trades and a lot less free agency moves. So that's why the free agency period is a little bit dull because you've already seen Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball, Kawhi Leonard, who else am I missing here that got traded? Giannis, duh. I was like, there's a big one.
Yeah.
And then you think about Jaylen Brown's been in trade talks. LeBron's going to be leaving the Lakers. So it's like there's a lot of movement, and I'm sure there's other trades that are going to happen. I mean, we've seen the Thunder kind of break up some of their depth, but trades are kind of the new thing, and so it's how we have to operate as people that are covering this. It's like just be on the lookout for more trades because I would not be surprised if Indiana did come to an agreement with Kelly Oubre Jr. if they tried to work a sign and trade with Philadelphia to give them something.
I don't know. So I mean,
Jarris or Shep.
I know when you say something, I mean, it could really only be the two of those players. I don't think there's anyone else that would really have any sort of value.
Or if they do a sign and trade, they could give them back like a Quentin Jackson and give them that traded player exception, right? I mean, that's something that they could be interested in. They could get a pick from it. I mean, kind of similar to the Malcolm Brogdon deal, right? We gave them a first-round pick. We're not doing that. It's not going to stop.
Yeah, what a deal that was. I mean, I wish we didn't. It was. So yeah, anything like that could happen, but it'd be a lot cooler if it didn't. So
let me just do this real quick because I want to go back to the 3 players that were linked to the Pacers. Okay, I'm just going to ask you, would you rather, and you tell me, the player that I mentioned or the player on the Pacers, okay? So Kelly Oubre Jr. or Jarris Walker?
Kelly Oubre Jr., I think at this point, because I think like you're going to sign him to like a much friendlier contract at this point where like for Jarris, if you're going to sign him, you're signing him to like a 4+ year deal, And I think
don't know if it'll be much. I think it'll be around the same amount of average annual value. Maybe. But who has more value on the open market? I think Oubre does. And
I think Oubre does, and I also just think he would contribute more to this team next year.
Yeah.
Where like what you're going to get. I think for Jarris, you're paying him based off of potential, and maybe he doesn't reach that, and then it becomes a bad deal. Kelly Oubre Jr., I feel like what you're going to get, and I feel like he'll come close to what those expectations are.
Okay, Gary Trent Jr. or Jarris Walker?
I mean, Jarris definitely should have a higher ceiling. He definitely totally should. Gary Trent Jr., I think, is going to be financially, like I said, this guy's never made money. He really never has. I feel like you could sign Gary Trent Jr. to like a 3-year, $18 million deal or something like 3-year, $15 million deal. And it's like, wow, okay, that's a great deal. And you're going to get some really good 3-point shooting. So you have some big games off the bench. For Jarris, I just feel like there could be times next year, I really do, where he could just fall out of the rotation. I do think that is a possibility. So I think that I think Jarris could very well have a better career. Maybe. I don't know. I think that's really close.
So it's kind of like flipping a coin for you.
I think it is because people forget Gary Trent Jr. had some solid years.
Yeah, I think it's harder for you to say Gary Trent Jr. over Jarris because you think the fan base is going to respond to you the wrong way. I think in your heart you would say that for this Pacers team, Gary Trent Jr. is the better player.
For this team, I would believe more in Gary Trent Jr. at this point. And I know that's probably a tough pill for people to swallow because Jarris is so young. He's so young that like he could totally just ball out. But I want to turn the same question to you. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to answer them all. I want to go through all the players before I do any of this. So I said I agree with you, though. I think that's the right answer. I think Gary Trent Jr. is the right answer. Now, Josh Okogie or Jarris Walker? Who helps this team more right now?
I don't think that Jarris has been as advertised defensively. Like he doesn't.
He's awful.
I know. Like
they won't even put him on anybody when they're trying to lose games.
I mean, I don't
guard Kuzma.
I don't think life has ever been the same since you told me he took the first charge of his NBA career last year. I don't think I've ever looked at him the same since.
Took him 4 years almost.
In my opinion, there was a moment there that went, oh no,
and it was against the Spurs, and he got up and cheered.
Yes, he cheered like he had been doing that. Like it was one of those, like this is what I do.
Hey, like look what I did, Mom. I did it.
Yeah, it was more of those. So, like, you look at Josh Okogie's numbers, he's not going to blow anyone away out of the water. Like, you're never going to write home about someone who averaged 4.5 points per game and, 2.5 rebounds and stuff like that. He's going to go hard, everything like that. But I think that Jarris is someone that you would like to believe in more at this point than Josh Okogie. So, yeah, that's the one where I would say Jarris.
I think Jarris is the better overall player.
Yeah.
But I think for this team, it's probably going to be a hot take. For this team, there could be moments where Josh Okogie is more valuable on a playoff series.
And I would agree with that because I think if you give Okogie 10 minutes, he can make an impact. Yeah. I think if you give Jarris 10 minutes and it's spread out, I don't think so. I think it's just like there's going to be a couple minutes where you kind of don't feel him on the court, where I feel like Josh Okogie understands the assignment of what it is. And I think that he's been a good defender for quite a few years from now. Jarris much better 3-point shooter. Jarris much better passer. Just things like that. Has like good size, much better size and wingspan, the things like that. But I feel like Okogie is more of like, I don't know, maybe just a veteran who gets the assignment, where Jarris could totally go to a lesser team and produce a lot more. But I think on like a team that's trying to win a championship, Okogie's probably more of a piece that could play 10 minutes and give you 10 good minutes.
Yeah, you're talking about the offensive upside of Jarris versus the defensive upside of Okogie, because Jarris is a terrible, terrible defender. Sorry, he just is. And he's not even a great rebounder.
We don't need Jarris's offense, really. Like, we don't. Like, we need what he was kind of advertised to be. I mean, could you use offense from everybody? Sure. Yeah. But could we, like, does Jarris Walker need to be our first, second, third, fourth, or really even fifth option? I would say no.
No. I mean, I think off the bench, you would probably like to see the scoring in the double digits. Yeah. I think he needs to be your third option behind Obi and TJ. Like, that is what his goal, or not goal, but his role will be. For me, like with Jarris, he can kind of have like the Mathurin syndrome at times. I think he will have Mathurin syndrome a little bit in the playoffs, where like he might pop off and hit 4 threes and make you feel like, oh wow, this is why you have him around, because he's a good 3-point shooter. Then he has another like 2 or 3 games where it's just empty calories and doesn't really provide much. So there's that. And then for all 3 players, let me just throw this question out there to you. What about Ben Shepherd? Would you rather have Ben Shepherd or the 3 players? Like, I just go through each of them. Like Kelly Oubre Jr. or Ben Shepherd.
I would rather have Kelly Oubre. I would.
Gary Trent Jr. or Ben Shepherd?
I think I'd put it the same way of Gary Trent Jr. And then I think I would rather have Ben Shepherd over Josh Okogie. So I think that's kind of where I'm at, because I think that like Shep's going to give you the defense. His offense is better than Josh Okogie. So I feel like he's like kind of like a bit of a, maybe more balanced type of player. But for Gary Trent Jr., I just feel like right now, like we need a scorer off the bench. We have limited funds. I know I'm looking at this right now. I know Gary Trent Jr., like last season isn't really like the season to go off of, where he averaged 8 points per game. But like historically, this is a guy who's a 39% 3-point shooter in this league. He's had seasons where he's averaged over 18 points per game. He's had other seasons where he's had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's had like 4 seasons where he's averaged over 15 points per game in this league. So like he can score off the bench. He can be a starter. He started over 230 games in his career. I feel like he's had big playoff moments. He's like the oldest 27-year-old out there. Like he's in a good mix of like experienced, not old, still on the younger. 27 should ideally probably kind of be your prime. I wouldn't say that he's maybe in his prime, but like, yeah, I'm a Gary Trent Jr. guy.
So you like Gary Trent Jr. You're a fan.
I do. Yes.
Okay.
If I haven't made that note. Yeah.
I wasn't convinced until tonight. So
I just want to make sure. That it's like
I brought him up on a podcast you weren't on.
Okay.
Like in March.
Was it just like crickets, or did anyone care? Was it just
they were like, oh yeah, that's an interesting name, like that's kind of how it was. And so like I feel like I mentioned him first, and now he's kind of morphed into the Facci guy, because you always do this every offseason where you just get stuck on one guy.
I agree. Look,
it's him or Kenrich Williams. I mean, if we
Kenny Hustle's out there, man. He's out there, and no one's been linked to him yet. No one has been linked to him.
Facci.
I want to be linked.
Man, the Kenny Hustle hope right here.
Yes,
it just makes me laugh, because like you get like fixated on these players, and a lot of times they do hit like the Obi Toppin name.
Dude,
with someone
I called that one for
like
2 years. Yeah,
Malcolm Brogdon. I think you wanted to.
I know.
But I think we kind of both want him. I think we both did.
I think we both did. But I definitely remember being like a supporter like this, and like Brogdon should have been better. He
made the most sense out of all the players possible. Like Justin Holiday was a guy I loved for a while that we got. There's always been like these weird names that like we always like, oh, we love to see him on there. Like I think I was like talking about Torrey Craig when he's on the Nuggets for like a small deal, and they get him and they trade him for Jalen Smith, and like that kind of goes back to the Thomas Bryant conversation. Like the Pacers have done this a couple of times now, where they get this big that doesn't live up to expectations in the postseason, and they're just like, yeah, we're done with you. And they did it with Jalen Smith. They're like, oh, we can't sign him back. He's not worth it. And then they goes to the Bulls, and it's like, okay. And then they do the same thing. Like Jalen Smith is better than Isaiah Jackson, and then they do the same thing.
Definitely.
He had a bad playoff series against the Bucks, and like really struggled.
He totally did.
And he was in his head. Like I get it. Like it wasn't great, but like before that, he was awesome. Like he was leading the league in 3-point percentage.
I mean, like that Jalen Smith 3-ball. Look, Rooster, I know you're listening to this. That Jalen Smith 3-ball was a real thing, man. It really was. I remember how I felt when I'd see him put one up. But yeah,
hopefully we can feel that way about Ben Shepherd if he's on the team next year. Because if we don't, I mean, I had some pretty deep conversations with our friend Rooster today, and he is just like over himself with all of the Ben Shepherd slander. And it's like, brother, like I'm not trying to be mean, but like Ben Shepherd is like an 8th, 9th, 10th man. Like he's not somebody that you really should be holding that much weight into. Like, sure, it's nice to have role players on this team, Flash. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. Like, and I don't think they should just trade Ben Shepherd to trade Ben Shepherd, but they can upgrade Ben Shepherd in a lot of different ways. Like I'm looking at this Bucks roster, and I'm just monitoring it so much with like 7 guards on it, not even really including AJ Green. It's like, if you can get AJ Green, like that is an upgrade over Ben Shepherd. I'm sorry, it is. Like there's so many better players than Ben Shepherd that if you're worried,
no one's saying that AJ Green's a better defender. No one's saying that.
But he's actually not a bad defender, Facci. No, like, he's a pretty sturdy defender.
A lights out 3-point shooter where
42%.
Like Shep's had seasons that are sketch from 3.
Yeah, I mean, Shep is like a guy that wouldn't even look at the basket at the time. This is a guy that would just go out there and play a good defensive concept and stay within the system offensively. Like he's fine. He's an okay player. Like he's a very average to above average player. Like he's not good. He's not even ever going to sniff anywhere close to like a starter level player. He is a depth rotation piece. And if he's the 9th, 10th man on a team, like that's fine. Like I'm not saying anything bad about him. Like I think he's been a good player when asked to play for the Pacers, but like acting like you can't find someone better than him is just ridiculous. And like acting like us talking about trading him, he's an expiring contract next year. Like
I know it's like
do you want to overpay
never want
for
people
him?
to make this personal, because it's not. And like
it is for
we
me.
talked about this, maybe the Rooster, and Rooster, we love you. But like we got hate last year for the Mathurin stuff. Hate. People were starting to say things like, I'm done listening to this show. Oh, they do, like they're trying to trade Mathurin this. And now you look at this, like the Clippers, like, yeah, you can go out there and try and fetch an offer. Like it's like that's where we're at now a year later. And because there's more to just like falling in love with a player. there's the like, well, okay, when do they hit free agency? What are they looking for? This, okay, can they be replaced? What's the cost? Like, if you're telling me there's that like Gary Trent Jr. could sign for essentially a minimum contract and is just a player who's been around the block, played in a ton of playoff games, things like that, been a good 3-point shooter for his entire career. I feel like that's something that you can say, all right, you know what? Like Gary Trent Jr., just looking at this in the series against the Pacers, averaged 18.8 points per game on 51% shooting and 50% from three. Ben Shepherd ain't ever doing that against nobody. Nobody. This is like, those are solid numbers. And then if you even go back another year, he's with Toronto in a playoff series, he averaged over 15 points per game. So I just feel like a bit more of a proven player. There's nothing wrong with that. The money, honestly, you might even be able to sign Gary Trent Jr. for cheaper, just because there's a scenario that Ben Shepherd come free agency time, he might fetch $5 million a year from the Pacers if they were going to come to a deal. It's probably incredibly comparable at that point. Give me the guy who's a bit more proven.
All right, Facci, as we close things out here, we just got some news, and it is that Keon Ellis, a Pacers, target for a couple of months now, has agreed to a 2-year deal, $18 million guaranteed to join the Brooklyn Nets. So
that's a Brooklyn Nets guy, though. I could see like the Nets
Keon
signing.
Ellis.
I could see them signing like those type of guys. Like in my opinion, like Isaac Okoro is a guy that could one day end up on like the Nets. Like just like those type of players that you're like, oh, all right, yeah, he's not bad. Like, okay. Like they're that type of team. And
so he'll probably come off the bench. I'm assuming that Michael Brown will start at the 2. They've got Michael Porter Jr. at the 3. They just traded for Julius Randle at the 4. They just agreed to a new deal with Day'Ron Sharpe at the 5. So who's their point guard? I forget.
I honestly, I don't even know right now. I just feel like the Brooklyn Nets are like doing a whole bunch of nothing, like a whole
Maybe they
bunch.
Can get Kam Jones. I'm just kidding.
Yes, they definitely can, but I just feel like right now, like they're just re-signing their own players for more money. Like one of the crazy things I saw this tweet is someone was like, "Oh, did Cam Thomas just average over 20 points per game back-to-back seasons just to be out of the league?" But like Cam Thomas is someone that like a year ago was like asking for like $30 million a year, and like now 1 year later is like 100% a minimum contract guy, but like to who?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if the Pacers wanted to be cheap, like he would be an incredibly great.
It's like worth a flyer on a minimum deal, but
he's not worth it because of the drama that ensues when you bring him on, because of what he did with the way that he just kind of went in there and like spilled all the beans with the Bucks after they wouldn't play him, after he like had a couple of decent like moments when he joined the Bucks. Like sure, he put up stats, but like he clearly didn't play within the team concepts. He was out there for himself, and like that is the last thing you want on this Pacers team, is to get a selfish guy that doesn't make sense. Okay,
it just doesn't fit.
I lied. Last thing I have to ask you, because he did become a free agent. After getting traded to the Hawks last year, he became a free agent. That's Jonathan Kuminga. I'm sure he's going to want a lot of money. It looks like the Bulls have interest in him and Norman Powell, which I'm just like, why are they wanting these veteran players? I mean, Kuminga makes sense. Norman Powell does not make sense for them. But
Kuminga to the Bulls does make sense.
It does. But like,
I could see that.
I don't know because they have a lot of cap space to sign him. I'm just curious, like, if the Pacers were to say, like, or create enough room to get the full mid-level exception, would that make any sense to you to go out there and give him like $15 million a year?
Yeah, I was a Kuminga supporter for a while. I really felt like I was like, the Pacers might have to go out and get this guy. I just felt like once he finally actually had that opportunity in Atlanta, I didn't think he backed it up. I really didn't. Like, I felt like he had like his first game in Atlanta, I thought was going to like set the tone. I'm looking at this right now. He drops 24 points in his first game as an Atlanta Hawk on 11 of 20 shooting. And I remember being like, whoa, yeah, he's about to go on a tear. And then it was just very like, eh. So like, in my opinion, he was never worth the money that he was seeking. I do very much think that the Warriors held him back. Like, I totally think that his career looks very differently if he's not like coming off the bench and playing very inconsistent minutes. But like, he's either going to be like really solid or he's just not. And I think if the Pacers were able to get Kuminga on like a decent deal, yeah, like a mid-level deal, that would be a move that would excite me because there would be a high ceiling. And if he's going to reach it, like you would think Indiana would be the place to be able to reach it. I mean, how is Tyrese Haliburton not going to be able to get you to your full potential?
Yeah, well, he didn't get Benedict Mathurin to his full potential.
He didn't, but we'll see how Mathurin produces in other places, because if he doesn't, we'll know that Indiana was maybe the best version that he would ever get. And he did have some big moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like a player's willingness to adapt to a franchise and a system. It's all about the player. And I mean, I don't think Indiana's done a really great job of developing young players. I mean, look at how many players.
Not so much lately. Not so much lately.
Just in general. Like, I mean,
definitely not draft picks.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, you just they trade for players. Like, the best player they've developed as a draft pick by far is Andrew Nembhard. But like,
by far,
Andrew Nembhard was kind of always just wired this way. He just needed the opportunity, and he got it, and he earned it. And like, they play the style that really fits what he does well, like next to Tyrese. So like, it was just like the perfect match, like him and Tyrese together. But like, for example, like we can say like the drop off from Miles Turner from last year to this year, without Tyrese was drastically different. But like, Kuminga's not going to be playing a lot of minutes with Tyrese, so it's like he's going to be expected to kind of come off the bench and be like a scorer if they were to go after him. So I just think it's interesting. I don't think he's going to be able to be in their price range. I think he's going to be too expensive.
I think he'd
but
be too.
Just the idea. So we started with LeBron James, ended with Jonathan Kuminga, but we had a nice conversation in the middle about the realistic guys. So I think we've covered a lot today, about an hour episode. So
I'd say so. Now we wait. wait.
And Facci will not be on tomorrow's episode. He's got a date night with the wifey. So Casey Johnson is on call if the Pacers do
Casey on the drums, man. I appreciate you, Casey. Thanks for being available. And selfishly, I'd like to say that I hope that there's no news so I don't miss it, but like, we got to do something. We
know Casey is my co-host for the Fever podcast as well, and he held it down for me last week while I was busy with the draft and out of town, so I appreciate Casey holding it down. But he did make a comment. He's like, I'm going to talk about the Pacers drafting Braden Smith on the Fever show because Alex doesn't let me on the Pacers podcast anymore. And I'm like, okay, dude, like, relax. I mean, it's just I'm talking to you twice a week already. I can't be doing this whole thing where I'm just like having a battle here between Facci and Casey. It's like I can only give love to so much, and I gotta. Facci's my OG.
Go around.
Facci's my OG. I can't.
Hey, I appreciate that. So, but Casey, you're always welcome to come on. Hey,
we gotta get a Facci and Casey show sometime.
Absolutely. Him and I have never done it solo. We've done some 3-ways in the past. Pods. I had to throw in the pods. I know how everyone goes with that. Like, let's not get crazy here, guys. All right. Someone's going to go like this. They're going to clip the time. And I've seen that. I've seen people just do the minutes and the seconds where I'm like, what is that? And then I go back. I'm like, you guys are sick. So yeah, nothing crazy.
It's my birders.
Yeah, Casey, you're able to come on whenever you want, and we'll talk some Pacer basketball. But I'm hoping this team does something sometime soon before some of these players dry up. I would love to believe that Kelly Oubre is kind enough to at least go through his meetings before, making a decision before he meets with us. But that's where we're at in 2026 on June 30th, banging the table for Kelly Oubre Jr. to be the big splash of the offseason.
It is the last day of June, so hope everybody is enjoying it. So goodbye, June. Hope you had a good one. And you know what? It is past Facci's bedtime, so we're going to get off here before he says anything more unhinged on this show. So, Pacer Nation, thank you all so much for another episode here of Setting the Pace and for tuning in with us, and let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, as you always do on YouTube. I've been getting a lot of comments recently, as there's a lot of new stuff to talk about. So really appreciate that and try to read everything you bring to us. But Facci, how we end the show. If you're up in the Pacers, make a big move at some point. Hit us with those words.
Let's go Pacers.